today we are going to study about the carbon dioxide laser. It is one of the gas laser. In your school days, you might have studied this helium neon laser. I don't know whether it is available in your syllabus or not. So helium neon laser, that is one of gas laser. So in the previous class, we have studied about solid state laser, that is ND YAG laser, neodymium YAG laser. So another one type is there, that is ruby laser. So ruby laser, that was the first laser invented by human. It was invented by Maiman, T.H. Maiman, the year 1960, I think, 60 or 61. So that was the first laser invented by human. So someone let me know whether it is audible or not.
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. So here, in this lecture, we are going to see about this carbon dioxide laser. So it is a gas laser. You can say it as molecular gas laser. Let us see the characteristics of a carbon dioxide laser. So these are the characteristics of carbon dioxide laser. As I said, it is comes under the type molecular gas laser. Here, the active medium, it involves the mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and helium. Otherwise, sometimes it may be replaced by the water vapor. So, the active center is carbon dioxide, CO2. So, that is responsible for the laser emission. So, that acts as an active center. And the pumping method, as we know, electric discharge method, and followed by inelastic atom-atom collision. So here you can just write electric discharge method. So for this kind of question, first of all, you should write this characteristic. For ND YAG laser, I'll give you the notes. At the end of this unit, I will provide the notes along with these characteristics and all. Okay, so the pumping method is electric discharge method, and then optical resonator. So you know the role of optical resonator, which is responsible for the increasing intensity of the laser. So here we are using metallic mirror, which is made up of gold or silicon, and it is coated with aluminum. Okay, so one side you have a 100% reflecting mirror, and the other side you have a partially reflecting mirror. That is the optical resonator setup. Okay, so the power output of this laser is 10 kilowatt, and the nature of the output is continuous or pulsed. So pulsed means there may be some time delay will be there. Continuous means the continuous emission of laser. And the wavelength of the output laser is 9.6 micrometer and 10.6 micrometer. So both the wavelengths are available. So it's in the range of nearby infrared region. So this is for neodymium YAG laser. So I haven't explained this before. So just have a look at this ND YAG laser. Already we have studied. So what about the type of the ND YAG laser? That is solid state laser, and active medium is the rod, yttrium aluminum carbide, and active center is neodymium Nd3 plus ion. Pumping method is optical pumping. The pumping source is xenon flash lamp, and the optical resonator again 2 mirrors. So one is totally reflecting, other is partially reflecting. Power output is 2 into 10 to the power 4 watts. Nature of the output is pulsed. Here no continuous beam is available, so only pulsed. And the wavelength emitted is 1.064. micrometers. So just a recall of that NDR laser. So these things you have to write at first when this kind of question is asked, followed by the principal, construction, working, etc. Okay. Now let us come to this carbon dioxide laser. So it is a 4-level molecular gas laser. So it was discovered by an Indian-born American scientist. His name was C.K.N. Patel. He's a professor. Then this laser beam is emitted out because of the vibrational energy state. That is the transition that takes place in the vibrational energy states. You know this atomic transition. That is the transition between the atoms. You know the electron that can rotate or revolve. So there is a revolve around the nucleus. So you have electronic transition, and it itself vibrate. Sometimes it itself vibrates. So here it is the molecular vibration. So you know you have atomic transition is there, electronic transition is there, and there is a transition because of the vibration of the molecules or atoms. So vibrational energy levels, okay, by the vibration of that molecule, there may be some energy difference. So there is a transition between one form of vibrational energy to another form of vibrational energy, or in between the same vibrational energy level. So here this is exclusively take place only in between the vibrational energy states. Okay. So here let us see what are the different modes of vibration that is available in carbon dioxide molecule. So you know the carbon dioxide molecule, it has one carbon atom and two oxygen atom. Okay. So we have a linear structure of that carbon at the center, and at the two sides we have the oxygen. So this is how a carbon dioxide molecule is to be. How the vibration takes place here? It is happened because of three different types, or you can say three different modes of vibrations. The first one is symmetric stretching mode, second one is bending mode, and the last one is asymmetric stretching mode. Okay. So these are the three methods or three modes of vibration. So let us see one by one. So first, symmetric stretching mode. So here you see at the center, this is the carbon. So here this carbon is fixed. Both this oxygen is vibrating. Okay. So that is towards and away from carbon. So the vibration is like this. And here also the same. So one time it moves towards carbon, and the other time it moves away from the carbon. But carbon is fixed. Okay, so this is called as symmetric stretching mode. So both these oxygen vibrate simultaneously along the axis. Okay, along this axis. So that's what I explained here. And next one is bending mode. Here you can see the difference. So all these three atoms are vibrating. So that is vibrating perpendicular to the axis. So here it is parallel to the axis. Just consider this linear axis. So it is parallel to the axis. Now here it is vibrating perpendicular to the axis. So the vibration is in the vertical mode. In the first case, it is along the horizontal mode. So there is symmetric stretching mode. Here it is bending carbon is also vibrating and oxygen is also vibrating. It is perpendicular to the axis, molecular axis. Okay, so that's what mentioned here. So carbon and oxygen atoms vibrate perpendicular to the molecular axis. Okay, so that is bending mode. Now let us see the third one, asymmetric stretching mode. Okay, so what is the difference you are observing here when compared to symmetric stretching mode? Anyone say? This is the symmetric stretching mode diagram. This is asymmetric stretching mode. What's happening here? Someone say, Priyadashini. Priyadashini, are you there? Can you see any difference with respect to the first mode, that is symmetric stretching mode? Okay, Bala Vishnu.
Sir.
Could you find any difference in compared to the first one, symmetric stretching? I show the diagram. So this is the first one.
Okay.
Just note on the arrows, everything. I already explained that. Now come to this one. What's the difference you are observing?
I don't know, sir.
Have you observed the diagram? Here, what about okay, thank you, Balavishnu. Let me explain. So here, carbon is fixed, oxygen, both oxygen atom are vibrating. Now here you can see the carbon is also vibrating along with the oxygen. Okay, so that's why it is said to be the asymmetric stretching mode. Okay, so this is the diagram for asymmetric stretching mode. So that is asymmetrically vibrating. So if this carbon moves moves towards the carbon, oxygen moves towards the carbon, carbon will move in the opposite direction. Here it will move in another direction. When it moves away from that, it will move in this opposite direction. Okay, so that's what will happen here. Asymmetric stretching. Actually, it is asymmetric stretching, not symmetric stretching. Symmetric stretching. Okay. So just you should know the three modes of vibration that happen in a carbon dioxide molecule. Because of this vibration, there is some energy release in the carbon dioxide molecule. Now, if you provide some energy from external sources, it starts to vibrate and its vibrational energy will become higher and excitation takes place, population inversion takes place, and finally, because of stimulated emission, the laser will be produced. So here the principle is, here the active medium is a gas mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen and hydrogen. In some cases you can use helium also. Yes, here you can see helium. Okay, so we can follow the same here, helium. Okay, so carbon dioxide, nitrogen and helium. And you know, the Pumping method used is electric discharge method. So that is used for the population inversion, and the laser transition takes place between the vibrational states of the carbon dioxide molecules. So these things you have to mention. Say about the active medium, then pumping method, and finally the laser transition takes place between the vibrational states of carbon dioxide molecules. So that you should say. So here comes the construction of the carbon dioxide laser. Here you can see just the construction. This is a quartz tube. Okay, so it is having the length of 5 centimeter. Length 5 centimeter and the diameter of just 2.5 centimeter. It's very handy. You can hold it in your palm. Take a minute. So that is the quartz discharge tube, the dimension of the quartz discharge tube. So at first you have to evacuate by connecting it to the vacuum tube, vacuum pump. In order to avoid any reactions or anything, so first you have to connect it to the vacuum pump. So completely evacuate this quartz discharge tube, and there is a provision so there is a provision to feed this helium, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. So there is a mixture of these three gas that you have to put into this provision. Now here another one connection is there to the power supply. So this power supply, what is the use of this power supply? So here the DC power supply is given. This some voltage you have to provide, and you know when potential difference is there, electrons will flow. The highly accelerated electron will be enter inside this discharge tube. Highly accelerated electron. That means the electron with more energy. So that will collide with the gaseous atom and followed by the inelastic atom-atom collision. So the other things happen. I'll explain. So here the power supply is there. Then at the two sides you have sodium chloride Brewster window. It will be maintained at a particular angle. So in order to increase the intensity of the laser, it is called as Brewster window. It is made up of sodium chloride. And at the two ends, you have the optical resonator arrangement. One is fully reflecting mirror, and another one is partially reflecting mirror. Okay. So this is a normal view of a carbon dioxide laser. Okay. So this is another one diagram. No need to draw this. Just it's like somewhat three-dimensional view. So you can draw only the two-dimensional. This diagram is enough. So this is for your further understanding. I have provided this diagram. So you have a small tube gas mixture that is entered to this provision, and you have vacuum pump. So here you have the power supply, DC power supply, and this is a mirror. The same, right? So whatever I have explained orally, so that is in this slide. You have the discharge tube with 5 centimeter long and 2.5 centimeter diameter, and the helium, carbon dioxide and nitrogen, they will be maintained in a different ratio and also with different pressure values. That's why it is mentioned as with suitable partial pressures. And about the power supply, and finally the Brewster window and mirrors. Now the working. At first, what happened means, when you switch on the power supply, the highly accelerated electron that will collide with the nitrogen. Okay. Now what happened? The nitrogen moved towards a higher energy state. Okay. That means nitrogen gets excited. Now this nitrogen, the excited nitrogen, that collide with the carbon dioxide molecule. Now the carbon dioxide molecule move towards the excited state. Okay, so that is the inelastic atom-atom collision. At first, electric discharge, due to electric discharge method, the electron collide with the nitrogen move towards the excited state. So the nitrogen now collide with the carbon dioxide molecule. Now carbon dioxide molecule move towards the higher energy state. So you can write this as two different equations. So that will be in the next slide. Anyway, I will tell you. So the highly accelerated electron, that is given by E star plus nitrogen, gives N2 star. This asterisk symbol, this mentions the excited state or the highly energetic, you can say highly energetic, plus electron. The electron transfer its energy to nitrogen and the electron becomes normal. Now this nitrogen collide with the carbon dioxide, it transfers its energy to carbon dioxide and nitrogen comes to the ground state. So this is just for the excitation purpose, we are using this nitrogen, and carbon dioxide now move towards a higher energy state. That is, we have mentioned here as E5, that is the highest energy state. Okay. Now what are the things happening? There are different energy levels are there, E4, E3, E2 and E1. So here this E1 is mentioned as the ground state energy. So in some cases it may be mentioned as E0. The higher energy states may be mentioned as E1, E2, E3, E4. Okay, so it moved to four different energy states. So that's why it is called as 4-level molecular glacier. In the India glacier, I think that's also 4-level solid state glacier. Here it is 4-level gas glacier. Now, here itself, the stimulated emission takes place by the population inversion, then followed by stimulated emission. There is a transition between E5 to E4. In that case, the laser is emitted with 10.6 micrometer, which is also equal to 10,600 angstrom. Okay, 10.6 micrometer. And for this transition, E5 to E3. So these things you have to should know this transition E5 to E4, 10,600 angstrom. Then E5 to E3, 9,600. Sorry. Yes. Right. No, almost zero. So here it is micro means 10⁻⁻⁶ If you want to make -10, so move towards the right side for 4 places. So it is 1,06,000. So here it is 96,000. So here one more zero. Angstrom. Okay. So both things you should know in micrometer as well as in angstrom. So after reaching this E4 and E3, there is non-radiative transitions. No emission of laser here. This is non-radiative transition. And finally, it comes to the ground state. So this excitation and de-excitation process will continue until you provide this power supply. Okay. So the laser beam output is 10.6 micrometer and 9.6 micrometer. So that we have seen in the first slide. So this is the reaction. So what is happening when the power supply is switched on? Then followed by the second one. Here you have to mention what is what. What is N2 star, carbon dioxide, CO2, CO2 star. So when there is a asterisk symbol, that is meant for this excited state or higher energies, is having higher energy. So these two transitions you should know. Okay. So the power output is 10 kilowatt. And this line, please note this line. What is the role of this helium gas here? So it is used to conduct the heat generated in the central region and discharge them through the walls of the discharge tube. Okay. So that's the role of this helium gas. So because of this process, some heat will be emitted. So that will be discharged using this helium gas. Okay. So what are the advantages of this? So it is very simple to construct. You know, it is very compact in size, 5 centimeter and 2.5 centimeter diameter, 5 centimeter long. You can hold it within your hand. But we have to provide some special environment for that, vacuum condition, etc. So inside the laboratory, we can use this kind of laser. Or we can have some the closed environment, then we can use this. So the output of this laser, you can have continuous and also pulsed laser also possible. So output, continuous output is an advantage of this laser. Then it has high efficiency, high output power. So here this output power can be increased by increasing the length of the discharge tube. That is another advantage. And finally the application. It is used in the process of material processing, welding, drilling, cutting, soldering, etc. So because of this, of its high intensity, it will produce a lot of heat. So there is no need of any flux materials or anything for the soldering purpose. So heat will be generated automatically. So you can use it for cutting, drilling, welding, etc. Then open air communications and laser remote sensing is used in the optical fiber communications. Then in the medical field, it is used for the treatment of liver, lung diseases, neurosurgery, and also general surgery. I think you have heard about these IE operations, and that can be happen with the help of this laser ophthalmology. Then microsurgery, bloodless operations you can do with the help of this laser. That's all of today's topic.